liked it very much.
Oh, thank you. We're gonna, yeah, I don't want to bother them. So thank you all so much for coming. It's really special. I also just want to quickly introduce my parents here, big supporters in all the ways.
I just clapped myself, I get so nervous.
And I also want to introduce my dear friend Joy Willig, who I've known for 30 years, oh my gosh. And Joy just came with us to Uganda. We just screened the documentary in Uganda for the farmers. We felt that it's doing well, it's screening all over the United States, the farmers ought to have a chance to see it too. So we went, and Joy said, and a few other folks said, we want to come, and so Joy had the opportunity to meet a lot of the folks who are in the film. So, excuse me?
So how did the farmers in Uganda react when they saw the film?
It was so interesting for me. It's interesting for me when we show it in a lot of different places, because there are some reactions that are pretty much across the board, I would say, in American audiences, and their reactions were totally different. You know, the parts of the film that they reacted to. Part of that is natural, part of that would be, we all laugh when we see our friends in a film. We're going to laugh differently. So they see their friends. You know, for example, there's one scene in the beginning where JJ's saying that he plays his music to get people to do what he wants. And then you see the neighbor come by and she's kind of dancing as he's saying that. Well, they just got a real kick out of that because they all know her. She's probably somebody who does that and comes by and dances to these things, right? So it was really kind of cute. So, you know, and here people don't have that same response. And like in the part of the film where Elias's son, Awadi, talks about how he has to try to hide from the rain. You know, a lot of times American audiences don't really understand. They think that sounds kind of funny. He says it with a smile on his face because that's how he talks. It's not funny. There's actually nothing funny about that at all. It's rainy season. The raindrops are this big. It comes down in sheets that are so hard that you can't even see out. And it's raining on a thatched roof with little bugs in it and coming through on you all night long. So you don't sleep all night long and you're up early the next morning to farm and go to school and everything else. So, you know, but these are, you know, it's interesting to see. So to get back to your question, sorry, I don't mean to go off on all the tangents. To get back to your question, the farmers, they loved it. They loved it. Actually, what we ended up doing was leaving them with the projector, the speakers, and the screen that we bought. And they're going to make a micro business out of it, charge people to come in, see the film, some nominal amount, and then they'll be able to use that to pay for their electricity to run their plant. So, yeah, so they were really, really happy about it.
So how did you find them?
I got a gift basket in the mail, and among other things, it had a little tiny sample of the coffee with that story. And, you know, we've done, my husband is the cinematographer and director, Kurt, and we've done documentaries. We've done a lot of documentaries together, and some of them in some really tragic places, and we've seen some terrible things. And after a while, you feel a little bit helpless about the world and hopeless. And then we read this wonderful story in this basket, so we pursued the story all the way to the farmers. But the funny part of the story was that we went through the coffee company, they introduced us to the farmers. Now mind you, this is all through email to people who don't have electricity. So how do they get email? Once every week, whatever, they'll go down to the city, the nearest city, and go on, right? So it's a long process. And a lot of, you know, communication, blah, blah, blah. It took a bunch of months, and finally they said, okay, come. Now, to get there, it's 2 days to Uganda. You have 1 day to go to Europe, and the second day is your flight from Europe to Uganda. And then it's another day to go from the airport up to where the farmers are. So you're looking at 6 days round trip without doing any work, right? So it's a big commitment of time. It's a big commitment of money. It's all those things. So we're excited to do this documentary. We finally get there. And we walk in, we meet with the farmers, and they look at us and they say, why should we let you do this? So Kurt said, oh, sorry. Kurt said, you were the lawyer. You do the negotiation. I'm going outside and taking pictures. These may be the last pictures we get. So I sat down and we had a 4-hour negotiation, and they finally agreed. Now this was after other people have heard about them and had come there. And for example, there was some guy who came there, and this American guy took a whole bunch of photos of them. And then when the coffee company one time brought JJ over to do a little promotional tour, he called that guy and said, can I use some of the photos you took for the advertisement, you know, for the promotional tour? And he said, it's going to cost you. So here are farmers who have nothing, and, you know, they had no reason to trust us. Who were we coming? You know, they had a bad experience already, and we were they didn't know us. So I understand why they felt that way. But it all worked out, and we're all good friends. Kurt and I actually have African names now. Mine is Nambozo, his is Mafabi. Mafabi means stubborn. Nambozo is just, you know, a local name. Joy, they give you a name this time. They did. Narodi? No.
I don't know. It didn't stick particularly. We were discussing it.
Right. So, yeah.
I'm sorry if I came in late. I apologize if I'm being repetitive. Where did your funding come from? If you could share, I mean, without being specific,
Yeah.
but generally, the seed money.
Basically from us. So we have two companies. We have a corporate video production company, and we have a nonprofit video production company. And the general, we do some small amount of nonprofit fundraising, but we hate it. So we don't really do it very much. Yeah. And fortunately, when we started this documentary, it was before the recession. So, you know, we have our own equipment. We do this kind of work. We have we have more miles than we could ever want for all the travel that we do. So we can travel back and forth to Africa at no cost. So, you know, then there was a small amount of, very small amount of fundraising, but it, you know, nothing compared to what the actual cost of making this documentary was.
Where are you based? I'm sorry.
New Jersey.
Oh.
New Jersey. Yes.
Has the standard of living of the Ugandans improved significantly since these cooperatives and...
Great question. I'm so glad you asked that question. Yes. And here's the best example. When we were just there this past time, Samuel, who's the one who you met who had the 3 graves of his children in his backyard, his home had been, prior to this, on that piece of land, had been a series of mud huts. So as the family grew, each new unit of the family built their own hut on the property, but they were very, very poor. And he talked about how they couldn't afford, that was when the first time the video got cut off, that they couldn't afford nutritious food for the family. And so here we were, we had our American friends with us, and I wanted our friends to see what some of the housing looked like on the inside. So I said, Samuel, can you show our friends your home? And he said, but Nambozo, that's not my home anymore. And then he took us across the street to a beautiful new home that he just built that's made with brick walls. It's not mud walls, it's brick walls, and it had a tin roof. Now this is a man who's in his mid-50s. So imagine the first time in your life, in a rainstorm, you wake up dry in your mid-50s. And that's on top of course, being able to afford, you know, more netting for, you know, the mosquito nets save lives. I mean, a simple $5 mosquito net saves people's lives, because most of the, not always, but generally speaking, mosquitoes come out at night, and you know that's when a lot of people get bitten. If you're bitten by a mosquito carrying malaria, your temperature in no time, in minutes, goes from normal to 106, spikes. So what do we do here? Hydration, right? We can easily hydrate. If there's no running water, you can't easily hydrate, and so a lot of people die just from lack of hydration in a very short period of time. So mosquito nets alone are a huge thing. So they have mosquito nets. I mean, these are little things in life that make life totally different.
They have a cow.
And a cow, we had a cow. A cow is amazing. A cow produces so much. Yeah. Let's go.
I'm wondering why you decided to bring in a narrator.
Well, we weren't going to at first. And then when we cut it together, there were, you know, like for example, especially in the parts of talking about the history, you know, they're farmers. They don't know a lot of the details of their history. And as much as I asked them about a lot of those things, they just didn't have accurate information. So I wasn't going to use inaccurate information. And the other